Yeah, so I just wanted to briefly talk about what I learned when looking at different Redbook audio for Street Fighter 2. So it's really interesting to go through the different things that happened with the ports of Street Fighter 2 on various platforms. So basically, uh, the 3DO version of Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo was actually based on the FM Towns version, and they're very similar, and but there are some interesting differences though too. So one thing that's really interesting is that there were actually differences between them just because the FM Towns version was based on Super Street Fighter 2 and the 3DO version was based on Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. And Capcom, even in the arcade version, actually made some differences there. See, like, if we, oh god, somehow I have no controls bound. So, see how the music in Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo and the character select is actually the music from the original game's intro and not the original game's character select music. So that was actually a difference. But in Super Street Fighter 2 non-turbo, it actually still had a CPS2 version of the original character select theme. And also in Super Street Fighter 2, the game still had the bonus stages, but the bonus stages were actually removed from Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. So when putting together the sample pack for MAME, it involved essentially, combining the 3DO and the FM Towns soundtracks. The FM Towns version not only has higher quality music than the 3DO version, but it has two tracks that were missing from the 3DO version, the bonus stage and the original character select music. And so that's why there are two sample packs that I put out there because, after I realized that, I went back and basically used the best samples available, from all of these different versions. And the other thing that's really interesting is the FM Towns version of Super Street Fighter 2 has problems because they basically ran out of CD space. And so the game doesn't have the critical music that plays, like basically the faster, tempo music that plays when a character hits low health in Street Fighter 2. So basically, the sample pack that's out there is all of the tracks that were in the FM Towns version, plus the 3DO tracks for the critical faster music. And so all of that together, gives you a pretty much complete coverage on the original three Street Fighter 2 games. Although it isn't 100% complete because neither the FM Towns version or the 3DO version actually has the original song that plays during the ending of the game when you beat Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition or Street Fighter 2 Turbo with one of the bosses. So there is still that one missing track, and basically I just picked the one in the FM Towns version that basically sounded closest to that track, that fit the mood the closest. So it's not that big of a deal, but it is interesting that there really is no perfect coverage just because there are different versions of the game based on different versions of the arcade game, and you really can't get everything. And so the other thing, though, that I wanted to point out is what a potential gold mine the FM Towns is if you're talking about doing, like a Redbook audio sample modifications for MAME. Because, a lot of people don't really talk about it because FM Towns is kind of under the radar. But there are, like, I would say 30 to 40 FM Towns arcade ports that have Redbook audio, and they're pretty fucking awesome. So just to blow your mind here, I hooked up, or not hooked up. I configured this UNZ FM Towns emulator, so I could demonstrate how awesome some of the Redbook audio is in these different arcade ports that were for the FM Towns. Yeah, so basically, just to list some, there's amazing, fucking amazing Redbook audio for Turbo Outrun, the FM Towns version of Turbo Outrun. Obviously, Afterburner has fucking awesome Redbook audio on FM Towns, and Muscle Bomber, Saturday Night Slime Masters. That has some awesome, Redbook audio, and of course that one's special because that's the game with the Hager theme, which is great. But the thing is though, so this is a preview of what's to come because at some point, depending on how bored I get, I probably will end up doing a lot of sample packs for these FM Towns games because the music is so great in them. Like the actual ports are fucking crap most of the time. But if you mixed the original arcade, Afterburner with that music, now that would be something. And if you did, Muscle Bomber, with that music, that would be something. And Turbo Outrun with that music, that would be something. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of neat because it really nobody talks about FM Towns. It's just a weird little Japanese machine, and so. People don't talk about it much, but there is so much there that you could mine for the samples and the music and all of that.